So, my cam has finally arrived. Ordered it back in May, and it's just now arriving. It's a Howard's Cams retro roller and lifter kit. It was around $860, and I ordered it off Summit Racing. Let me show you. That's the part number I'm going with. The S, there's two part numbers. There's one without the S, and there's one with the S. The S just means that it's a it's a small circle base, because the person that talked to on Howard's, the tech that suggested this cam, just wasn't sure if it was gonna clear those Eagle rods I got. So the price difference was maybe like $10, so I might as well just gotten that just in case. Let's unbox it. Here we go. Cam card and 2 stickers. I mean, I really like this box, even though it's just advertisements. Still a pretty nice box. Lift here, and these are the lifters. I'll show them off later. Here we got the cam. It's I'm not sure if you guys can hear that. It's currently raining right now, but here's the cam. It's wrapped up. Before I'm installed, I'm gonna go ahead and clean off all the oil that's on it. First thing I'm gonna do is install. This is the timing. It's upside down. This is the timing chain set I'm going with. There's the part number. It's a billet, full billet, double roller. First thing I'm going to do is install the crank gear, and I'm going to be showing you guys how I'll be installing it. Alright, so to install this, I really came up with my own way, but I'll be using the install tool for a harmonic balancer. This is off a PT Tools. It's that right there. I'll be using these 2 pieces, and then to press on the gear itself, I have this piece from a Harbor Freight ball joint press kit. So just be going on like something like this, and I'll just be pressing it on. I have no idea if this is gonna work, but I mean, I'm pretty sure it should work, but we'll see. So first thing you want to do is just go ahead, clean the gear and clean the snout. Make sure on the back side where it'll be sitting against is perfectly flat. There's no burrs or anything that'll cause it to not sit all the way in. Just gonna go ahead and install the tool. And just turn the nut until it's all against the gear. Look at that. Spinning it on by hand. You can see it's going in. And those were gunshots. This thing is on way too loose. Okay. I can't turn it by hand anymore. And that's where you get the wrenches. You're basically just installing a harmonic balancer, but instead it has teeth for a gear, for a chain. So this little one is just to hold the threads, keep them from moving. This thing is on very loose. As you can see, it's hold that on tight. I'm not sure if you guys can see it being pressed on. Yeah, I should have probably lubed up the threads before I did this. But you really just want to go until it just gets impossible to move. That basically means that it's flat against the end of the crank. And there we go. I cannot turn that anymore. So just go in reverse, loosen it up. But yeah, you can see I have it set on 0. That means that there's no advance or any retard. You want to make sure that you have the part with the numbers facing towards you, because if you don't, nothing's gonna line up. Yep. So now I'm gonna be cleaning the cam and installing that. Let's go ahead and just wipe all the journals off. And what I'm going to be doing to install this cam is I got this little handle from Summit Racing. There's the part number. I'm going to go ahead and start lubing up all the journals, the gear. So I have this little tray because I don't want all of that falling on the ground. Let's go ahead and spread it. Go ahead and try to go and install this. I've never installed a cam before. I'm kind of nervous. just going in blind. There we go. Let the cam hold itself. Go from here. Something went in. Can't really see. Looks like it's going in sideways. Maybe I should. I don't think you can see it upside down. Quite sure what's going on. I want to be scratching this up. Come on. There we go. Told you it wasn't going in straight. Man, I am sweating. Just from this. And this cam alone is like $500, so I don't want to mess this up. Hopefully it just can. Okay, it's not on the roof anymore. Come on. Come on. Very end, come on. There we go. Oh my goodness. So what's great about this cam set is that it comes with a bearing that sits on the back of the gear, and that bearing sits against the block, so this gear isn't eating up the face of the block and causing cam end play to change over time. So when installing this bearing On the back, it tells you the instructions. Can't get this off. It says this black part, there's two parts. There's a black part and there's a gray part, a metal part. So this black part, you want the black part facing the back of the gear. So you want to have it installed like that. You don't want it the other way around. According to the instructions, it will cause failure. I'm not quite sure how, but I'm gonna follow the instructions because they know more than I do. So before you install this bearing, I went ahead and put oil on the back end so it can absorb into the needle bearings that are inside. Not really sure how necessary that is, but I just went ahead and did it. So the bolts I'll be using to installing this gear, since I'm using a retro roller, I need a cam button, and to hold in that cam button you need a retainer plate. Summit Racing, part number, there you go. But yeah, this is what I'm going to be using to install the cam button and the bolts for the cam gear. So now what you want to do is go ahead, get a ruler or flat piece of metal or anything that's just perfectly flat. Put it against the surface of the crank and the cam gear. You gotta make sure that's not gonna hit a bolt. Just go ahead and place it against the side. Just make sure that's not hitting a bolt. You wanna go ahead, look on the side and see how flat that whatever you're using is against, just see how flat it is against the cam and the crank gear. So it's perfectly flat there. Go ahead. It's perfectly flat there. We're checking this because this crank gear might be sticking out a little further out because there could be something behind it causing it to not sit flush, and that will affect how your chain is installed. You want it to be perfectly flat, so it goes so the chain can be installed easier, and I'm sure it would affect the life of the chain if it's not flat like this. Just go ahead, get something flat and just check it. What I'm gonna do is line up the cam and line up the crank before I go ahead and install the chain. So of course, dot to dot, since I'm at since I'm using stock timing for the crank, I'm just gonna match the dot to dot. It's there. There we go. So it's gonna make it just easier to line up and install the cam without having to rotate by hand while holding the cam and all of that. All right, so before you install the chain, you're gonna want to lube it up. Since this engine's gonna be sitting for a while, I'm not gonna be using engine oil. I'm gonna be using semi lube. So I guess I just basically you just want to coat the entire chain in oil or lube, whatever you'll be using. Just rub it around. Let's see if I can get this on. get the cam on, the chain on. Go ahead, get your locking plate and your button. Make sure the button goes on. Just go ahead. Install the bolts. There we go. Now what we're gonna do is torque them down to 20 foot-pounds. Just get yourself a torque wrench. Set it to 20 foot-pounds. Now you don't need to hold a crank or anything. These are still pretty loose. Okay, yeah, these are still pretty loose. Just go ahead. You don't really want to use the torque wrench to be tightening bolts before you torque them. 20. Alright, so just go ahead and check that the cam and crank are dot to dot, or if you're advanced or retard, just go ahead that's aligned how you need it to be. Mine looks pretty good. And now we're going to be installing the cover with the gasket and checking for end play. Okay, so after torquing down all the bolts, since this is a locking plate, there are tabs right here that you bend to lock in the bolts to keep them from spinning out. So if you see that the tab that you bend does not align with the flat part of the bolt, you don't want to loosen up that bolt until it lines up. What you want to do is keep on tightening it until it lines up with that tab. So you want to make sure it lines up with both tabs on all 3 bolts. So just keep on tightening them until it lines up. Even though it's past 20 foot-pounds, these bolts can probably handle more than 30, about maybe 30, 35, because I tightened them past, I tightened one past 25, so it's probably like 27, 28. So you don't have to worry about these bolts breaking. Just as long as there's grade 8, you should be perfectly fine with tightening them just a little bit more. Okay, so since I'm going with a retro roller, that cam button is going to be pushing against the timing cover, and that timing cover could be flexing if you're using a stamped steel or basically a stock timing cover. So that could affect the end play. So what you want to do is get yourself a, if you want to use a stamp steel cover, just get one that's reinforced, that's made for a button. So just on a stamp steel one, there should be like a washer or something that goes right where the button would be. But I'm going with cast aluminum. And this cast aluminum is a set. There's a kit that comes from Summit Racing. There's the part number. It already comes with the front seal pressed on. I don't know the part number on this one, so I really don't know if it's a good quality seal or not. But it also comes with these stick water pump gaskets. And I'm assuming this is only if you're using a short water pump. Since this is a cast aluminum, it sticks further out. So you might be needing these if you're using a short water pump. I'm using a long pump, so I won't be needing these. Next is a oil pan gasket. I'm going with a Felpro one piece, so I won't be needing these. Next is this gasket, timing cover gasket itself. I mean, it's pretty flimsy. I won't be using it. I'm going with a Felpro. And then there's these bolts, these Allen head bolts with washers I'll be using. I mean, so the cover and the bolts are any things I'll be using from this kit. But this is the timing cover gasket I'll be going with. Felpro 2335. So a weird thing I found on this gasket is that is the label. If you see in English, Chevy V8, but in French, Chrysler V8. So if you live in Quebec or in France, this won't work on your Chevy V8. This will only fit a Chrysler V8. So just make sure that you get the correct gasket. Just if you're in France, don't get this for your Chevy V8 because it will only fit a Chrysler V8. I mean, it's a pretty weird misprint. I mean, I don't really know how you can get it wrong because it clearly says Chevy V8 on the top. I don't know how you mistake and put Chrysler V8. I mean, that's just pretty weird. But this is the gasket I'll be going with, 2335. I'm going to go ahead and install this timing cover and then check for end play. Okay, so before we install timing cover, what you want to do is get yourself some brake clean and a rag. Just go ahead and wipe off the surface where you're going to be installing the cover. Just go ahead and wipe it all off. Make sure there's no oil or debris or anything on it, so it can sit, so the gasket can sit flat. And what you want to do with if you're using a aluminum cover, you want to go ahead and completely clean the back off it, because when I received this one and I would touch the back of the cover, my entire finger would just be like completely gray from all the shavings from the metal and whatnot. So just go ahead and just wipe it off with some brake clean and a towel, and then I'm gonna go ahead and install the gasket and cover and torque it down. Okay, so I ran into a little problem as I was trying to install the cover. It doesn't seem to want to sit flush. Sit flat with the surface. So I can see, as you can see, it somewhat sits flat on the back side, on the bottom side. But once you get higher up, you'll notice the gap sticks out further. So what I'm assuming is that the button is too long. So that means I either have to shave it down or go buy a different one. which I'm probably just gonna go ahead and buy a different one. Yeah, you can see that big gap. I mean, if I push it on the top, it'll stick out the bottom. So yeah, I'll just update you guys on the solution. So it's the next day. I went to Summit Racing and I got another cam button. This one's made by Manly. Part number 42113. Now this one is 0.69 length, while the Summit one was 0.795. And this one actually, the cover fits. This one actually fits way better than the Summit one. Inside the cam gear, it still moves a little up and like in and out, but the Summit one was just like a little smaller diameter, and it would just wiggle around inside the cam gear. And this one barely does it. The Summit one was moving around everywhere, but this one actually feels way better, like quality. So yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and install the gasket. Install the timing cover and then check for endplay. So here's with the cover installed and all the bolts torqued down. What I did, what you want to do is start off with the middle. So either be these bolts or these bolts. You want to start off with tightening them. You actually want to tighten all of them and then get a torque wrench, or you want to use an inch-pound torque wrench, because the torque spec is 6 foot-pounds, which equals 72 inch-pounds. So you just want to go ahead and torque it from the inside out, crisscross. So you start off with this one, go to that one, go to this one, go to that one, and then go that one, that one, that one, that one, and then these two. And that's how I torqued it down. I torqued it down to 6 foot-pounds. Everything I could find online says 6 foot-pounds. So I'm just gonna leave it like that. And now we're gonna get the way we're gonna check the end play is from this oil hole right here. You can see the chain. We're gonna stick the dial in there, and we're gonna check for end play from there. So big update on the cam button situation. The Manly button, I checked the end play with the Manly button installed, and unfortunately it was a tad too short. I was getting about 24 thousandths of end play. I spoke to a Howard's Cam Tech, and they told me that the end play should be around 4 to 10 thousandths. So I already figured out all the end play stuff. What I ended up doing is I added that 24 thousandths to the length of this button, which is 69.69, which got you 0.714, and I just chose the end play to be around 7 thousandths. No reason, just I don't know, that just felt like a good number to have. And what I did is I subtracted that 7 thousandths of end play from 0.714, which got you 0.707. And what I did is I went to a machine shop and had them machine down that Summit Racing button from 0.795 to 0.707, and I went ahead and installed it, just checked end play, and it turned out to be perfect. I'm about to go show you guys how I set it up. So here we go. This is the exact same stand I used to check the end play of the crank. This stand came with a with the Summit Racing cam degree kit that I'll be using next. And this, I did not use the dial that came with the Summit Racing kit because it was a little too I really don't know. It was like when you spin the face to zero it out, it's not really that smooth, and it'll bounce around. It'll move around the stem, and it'll affect the number I was getting. So I just got the comp cams one that I used to check the deck height. So this is how I have it laid out. Just basically just straightened all out. And I have it going into this oil return hole that's right above the timing chain. All right, this flashlight takes like a few times to turn on. As you can see, it's contacting the timing chain. I try to get it as straight as possible because that's what you want to do with a dial indicator. You want to have it perfectly straight with the whatever surface you're measuring. So I try my best. And this is how it turned out. So now what you want to do when you have it all set up, you want to get yourself a big screwdriver. You want to go ahead and clean up the entire screwdriver, clean up I mean, I don't know what you would call this, a shaft, I don't know. And go ahead and put tape on the end of the screwdriver. Use a flathead because it'll just be better. Just put around tape so you don't end up scratching the lobe of the cam, because that would suck to be doing all of this just to scratch up the lobe and start all over. So just put as much tape as you want on the end of the screwdriver. Just go ahead and stick it down where a lobe is sticking out. And then you just want to put it on the side of the lobe, not down in the middle of it, like to the side. Basically the same way we're checking for crank end play. So you want to put it down on one side, push it all the way back, go on and zero out your dial, and then go on the other side and just push it forward. And with mine pushed all forward, I was hoping to get 7 thou of end play, and I'm currently getting 6, which is perfectly fine with me. The tech at Howard's told me 4 to 10. Some forums would say like 3, 2 to 11. Just go ahead and check with your cam manufacturer what they say, because they know more about cams than I do. All right, so here are the lifters that came with the retro roller kit from Howard's Cams. There's the part number of the lifters that came with the kit. So here's what they look like. So when you get your lifters, what you want to do is make sure that the front side has the oil holes, because I saw a review on Summit of these lifters and one of them was missing the hole. So just make sure that yours has this tiny little hole on every single lifter. It should be only on the front, nothing on the back. I mean, you guys can see how dirty these arrive just from being in this cardboard box. I talked to a tech at Howard's Cams. They told me just to wipe it off with like look at that, with like mineral spirits. And that's what I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna use like brake clean and a rag. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead, clean one and install it. Instead of cleaning them and putting them back in this box, I'm gonna clean, install. The tech also told me that you don't want these inside you don't want to dip them in oil. I mean, like put them in a bucket of oil overnight. You just want to just put oil on the wheel. Just spin the wheel so the bearings lubricate. And that's all you really want to do. I'm going to go ahead and also put lube on the sides. Just a little. Just so there's lube on the sides, because on the block it's dry. So I'm just going to go ahead and wipe them off and install. Alright, so after you're done cleaning the lifters, what you want to do is make sure that they're all clean. Spin the wheel, make sure that's clean. Check on the inside, make sure there's nothing in there. And the way I've been lubing these up is I just got lube. I first add lube on the sides where the bearings for the wheel are exposed. Go ahead and let it soak up in there, and I just add a pretty big glob. Let it fall over to one side, so all the lube is on this side, and then I just spin the wheel towards that lube so it'll get coated. And once you do a full rotation, the entire wheel will be soaked. It will be coated in lube. And just go ahead and do the same for this one. Just a little bit on the sides for the bearings. And just a goop. A little goop on one side, and then just roll the wheel into it. And whatever's on your finger, just rub it off on the body. And I just put both of the lifters together. And just add that much on both of them, and then just go ahead and rub it on the machine side, on the machine parts. You don't really need to put lube up here because that's over the bore. You just really just gotta lube up the machined part. Just go ahead and do that on this one. And then once you're ready to drop in, what you want to do is have the link. The link will be facing towards the inside of the engine. So you just gotta make sure that it goes in with the link side facing towards the inside of the block. Pretty tight fit, so yeah, there we go. All right, so that's it for this episode. next episode, I'll be degreeing the cam with the Summit degree kit. That head update should be coming out pretty soon. Just really don't know when. I'm just waiting on one more piece to come in, and then I'll be able to tell you guys, update you guys on what I've done to the heads and what I'll be installing. So if you guys have any questions, any comments that you want to leave, any tips or anything you want other people to know, just drop them down in the comments or DM me on Instagram. So yeah, that's it for now. See ya.